What's up everybody, I'm Matt Brody and this is Simply Must Go, and today we are going to be talking about the new BougeRV portable propane hot water shower system. Now it's come to my attention that there are two kinds of overlanders in the world, those that like to go to bed clean and refreshed, and those that like to go to bed dirty, grimy, stinky, smelling like your teenager's gym bag had a baby with a used litter box. And for the record, for the longest time, I was totally in the camp of showers are unnecessary. And to be totally honest, most of the time I don't take a shower at camp. But there are times where I've gotten muddy or it's just so hot because we're in the South and it's so humid that having a shower is really nice. And if your wife likes to join you, this is the kind of thing that could keep you out on the trails longer. So this is not my first camp shower setup, but we're going to talk through all the things I like about this and some of the things that I don't, because there are some things that I'm not super excited about. But it's definitely an improvement from my last setup, so I'll walk you through everything. So the first thing that you're going to notice about this BougeRV propane hot water shower system is that it sits down on a table like this. You can set it on the ground, you can set it on the table, you can set it in the back of your vehicle. It's got nice handles. What makes that different than, let's say, my other shower system is the other shower system had to be hung. All of the cables, all of the lines hung down from the bottom. This is designed to sit more compactly either on the ground or on a table, which in an overlanding instance like me with the Jeep, this is a much better solution than having to find a way to hang my other shower system. One of the other things that's really nice about this system is that it has its own built-in battery. So you can actually run this from the battery itself and not have to plug it into anything. But if you do need to charge it, they did provide a power brick for it, and you can run it off of this. Or you've also got this really nice and really long 12-volt power adapter that you can use to plug it into your vehicle or plug it into a battery station, whatever you've got, to charge it or to run it, either way. Now, like I said, this is a propane heater. So it's going to use these green bottles, and then there's a little metal adapter that you screw into the back and then screw this on in order to start getting propane into the system. This unit also includes the two other hoses that you're going to need. The first one is going to be your water intake hose, and at the end you see it's got the filter and the pump built in as one unit. We'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute. And then it's also got your actual shower head unit. Everything is very clearly labeled, so you can see here there's red on this. It's going to correspond to the red on the front of the unit. You just plug those in. Everything is super simple to use. All right, I'm going to show you how we get this all set up, and then we're going to go through some other features and things about it that I like and things that I don't like. So first we're going to go ahead and put on the propane tank. This screws in really easily. You just want to make sure you get it nice and tight. And then your green gas bottle is just going to screw in like this. Just make sure it's nice and tight after doing that, because it does move around just a little bit. Now on the front, all we have to do is remove our little protective caps, clip on the quick disconnects that are color matched, so blue on blue, red on red. This is going to be your cold water intake. This is going to be your hot water out. And then you're also going to plug in the pump into the system like this. If you need to run it off of the power or the 12 volt, that would go right here. In this case, we're already charged up enough, we don't need to do that. Then we're ready to drop our filter and pump into our water source. We're going to power on the unit. Then we're going to make sure our shower head is turned on the way we want it. There's two different controls on the shower head. You have your buttons up here, which are going to control the type of water pattern that comes out. So a couple of different water patterns. And then here is the amount of flow. So you can actually crank this up or crank this down a little bit to let in more water or less water. Then all you're going to do is turn on the pump and hit the button. And just like that, you've got really nice hot water and a shower system at camp. And just to show you how these different controls work, if I crank this down, you can see it turns on and off the water. And then I can adjust the type of water that comes out. So you got these three settings. You got kind of more of a blast, a little bit of a blend, and then more of like a traditional shower. The front of the display here is really nice. You've got your battery level, you've got the temperature that the shower is set at, and that's really all you need to know. So I absolutely love this shower. I started using it when I was at Overland Expo East, And in fact, it was such a great shower that my brother, who had the same shower system I had before, bought this same thing that day because it was so much better than the shower system that we had. That said, it's not perfect. And so I'm going to go over a couple of things that I don't love about it. They're not deal breakers. Maybe they're more of things like you should know just in case, because it certainly works well, but there are some little tweaks that you could do or maybe some things to know about because it's got room for improvement. So the first thing that I don't really love is this handle. I mean, it's certainly adequate to hold it up like this. You want to kind of have it up here, but it's not tight enough. It doesn't stay put, and so it wants to move around, and the grip on it is not very conducive. So if your hands are wet or it's wet outside, like, it's going to be hard to get this thing on and off to move it around. But particularly if you have it up here, it's never going to stay flat. It's never going to hold this well. It just doesn't do it. So you've got to kind of have it on the side, and it moves around a lot. It just seems like one of those things that was a little bit of an afterthought. They're like, oh, we need a handle holder of some kind, and they kind of made this, but I think they could probably do a better job with it, or you come up with your own solution, because it's just not, in my opinion, the ideal. See how much trouble I'm having just like trying to deal with it here? Like, it's just not great, and then it moves around. But if it's just going to be like base camp like this, it's totally adequate. I just wish it was a little bit more robust. The other thing that I found, it's both kind of a pro and a con, but the temperature on here, you can adjust this temperature to get pretty hot. The trouble is that there are safety mechanisms in here that keep it from actually getting that hot. And so if it really gets too hot, it's going to air out. It's going to shut down. Really, it's in order to protect you from getting scalded or burned. It's a safety mechanism. The trouble is that threshold isn't very high. So you like instantly want to set it to like a medium temperature on here. But in my experience, that's too high. You got to keep it on like the lower side. It's not the worst thing in the world. On my other camp setup, I had a similar problem where I literally had to keep it at its lowest setting, and it was still almost too hot. So here I've got at least enough control that I can not have it at wife temperature. If guys, you know what I'm talking about, like they get in the shower and they melt. My wife wants it really hot. I don't want it that hot. But I can adjust it here, which is great. The downside is that if you adjust it a little too much and it gets too hot, it's going to shut down, and then you're going to have to kind of reset it just by turning it on and off and lowering the temperature a little bit. So it's a safety mechanism. I just wish that maybe the knob had more, like, that hot was way down here at the end, and you had some more adjustment, like fine-tuned adjustments in the middle, rather than basically all the usable stuff being in this yellow and orange area here. Once it hits that red, it really could air out fairly quickly. All right, let's talk about the propane itself. This obviously uses the green gas propane tanks. They're readily available, they're easy to find. A lot of things use them, like the Coleman stoves and a bunch of other stuff use these green bottles. I don't love the green bottles personally. I find them a little bit wasteful, they're expensive. I would much rather hook this up to something like, these bigger propane tanks that are refillable, they're cheaper, and you're just not wasting so much. And then I can hook everything to this as well. You can do that with like an adapter hose like this, where this would then plug in where the green bottle plugs in, and you can plug it in this way. So it's totally doable if you've got the right stuff, just a little adapter hose, and you can hook it up to a larger propane tank if you want to do that. I will say these green bottles last a long time on here. I've taken several showers with this bottle, and it's still probably at least half full. So it's not using a ton of propane. I just would prefer not to have to take an additional kind of propane with me on my trips. So it's not the end of the world, but that's just my thoughts on it. All right, let's talk about the other big thing, which is your water supply. So this hose that comes out of the BougeRV system is not incredibly long, right? Like, there are other systems that have much longer hoses. The deal with those is it's typically a filter and then a hose and then the pump and then another hose. So it's a lot of hoses to keep up with. This is a much smaller system, one, because the filter is built into the end of the pump. And so all of this is sort of one unit together, and it plugs in up here. not a bad thing that it's not a long hose. It's just something to know about, especially since you can put this just about anywhere. The thing about it that is a little bit different that caught me off guard the first time was the size of the filter and pump together. I didn't expect it to be, it doesn't look very large, I guess is what I'll say initially, but it's larger than like a standard filter from one of the other companies that you would get. And so I have to put it into this Dometic tank through the big opening. It doesn't fit through the small one. Originally, I was gonna use something like this blue Igloo water jug, but as you can see, that filter doesn't go anywhere near going into that hole. But that hole was large enough for the other sort of filter system that I had. So I expected to be able to use this and I couldn't. So I had to start using the Dometic. Now I of course can get a different container with bigger holes or come up with some other solution. But this caught me off guard initially. So just know that you're gonna need a bigger hole to put this into your water tank with. Otherwise you're gonna be out trying to take a shower and suddenly realize you got no way to get to your water. The other side of this water solution is that while this is a great unit and it pumps out a bunch of water, it pumps out a bunch of water. And so you'll go through water on this fairly quickly unless you're really intentional about dialing the pressure back on the shower nozzle. So just doing the little test here showing kind of what it did, I've used probably 1.5 gallons of water. So a typical shower, you know, if you're being really conservative, like you're probably gonna run through 1.5 gallons, maybe 3 gallons of water if you're a female and you're trying to do your hair and stuff like that. As a guy, you can kind of just spritz off, get away with a little bit less water. But this is gonna run through more water than you probably think. So don't count on like your drinking water to be able to supply you with showers for a weekend at camp with multiple people. You're gonna need a designated water source for that can handle that. All right, so I have one last tip for you guys when it comes to this unit. It doesn't come with any kind of case or storage bag for the hoses or anything like that. And so what I do is I keep the shower nozzle in one Ziploc bag and I keep the filter and the pump in another Ziploc bag. And the reason is that even after you unplug everything, this just wants to hold, you can probably hear it, some water. It doesn't want to drain fully. And the same is true with the filter and the pump. It doesn't quite fully drain, right? Like, so there's always going to be some residual water in there. So I just keep these in Ziploc bags to keep it watertight so that it doesn't get all over any other electronics or the other cables or anything like that. So you probably find your own solutions, but I found that just keeping a couple of Ziploc bags is easy to put those hoses in so that I'm not getting water afterwards onto other stuff. So this shower system is not only great for overlanding and camping, I also found it to be a really useful piece of gear for our disaster preparedness. So we were recently hit with Hurricane Helene and we lost power for several days. In the grand scheme of things, we were very lucky, but we didn't have hot water because, well, our hot water system is electric, and so we had no power to heat up water. So we were able to use this to shower with. My wife was certainly grateful. The only thing I will say about that is this does burn propane, so do not use this in your house. We took it outside onto the back porch and showered there with it. So this was a great way for us to take a nice hot shower, stay clean and refreshed, and not feel so grimy and grungy as we were dealing with the aftermath of the hurricane and not having power. So my wife in particular was very grateful that we had this. All right, so criticisms aside, I really am a fan of this BougeRV hot water portable shower system. I think it's really well designed. It's lightweight, it's super easy to use and to put together. If you're interested in this, I will leave a link down in the description below. You can check it out. Full disclosure, it's an affiliate link. It's not going to cost you anything extra, but it does help out the channel a little bit if you use that link and you want to buy this. If you have any questions about it, feel free to leave your comments down below. I will do my best to answer them. Anyway, God bless, and we will see you on the trails.